You must pass all 9 tests in order to reach spiritual awakening. These tests will push you to the limit until you can see through the veil of everyday existence and feel the divine essence of life. Imagine standing on the edge of a chasm that goes on forever. Below you there is nothing but an infinitely deep void. In this case, the void is not a scene from a dream or a figure of speech. It is the first and perhaps scariest of the 9 tests of spiritual awakening. Everything starts and ends in the void. It is the final test of letting go and the first step toward a huge change. There is a place where all noise goes away, leaving you in a deep silence that can be heard for miles. In this place called the emptiness, everything is possible. The void stands for a state of mind that many of us try to stay away from all our lives. It's the time between our thoughts, the breaths, and the quiet that lies behind all the noise in our lives. The vastness of our existence is something we are taught to fear and fill with noise, distractions, and anything else that stops us from facing it. To spiritually awaken, you must not only face the void, you must also accept it. This isn't about being alone or physically alone. It's about facing the nothingness inside you, the place where you meet yourself without any distractions or false beliefs. Being in the void is like losing old skins, letting go of who you thought you were, and facing the pure, unedited core of who you are. It's a test of bravery, a trial by fire that gets rid of the good stuff to find the gem inside. You learn to let go of ties, wants, and even the idea of who you are in the void. In this place, where nothing is present, you feel deeply connected to something bigger than yourself, a global awareness. A famous existentialist philosopher of the 20th century, Jean-Paul Sartre, wrote about the existential fear that people feel when they face the void inside themselves. Sartre's existentialist theory stressed the idea that human existence comes before essence. This means that we are all born into the world without any traits or characteristics, and our actions and choices determine our essence. This idea fits with the idea of facing the void inside oneself, because it forces people to think about the freedom and duty that come with making their own meaning in life. Sartre thought that the void, or what he called nausea, could lead to a deep awakening. There is no choice but to make choices and be responsible for your deeds when you face the nothingness and mystery of existence. In turn, this can help people connect to the basic structure of human existence and gain a better understanding of who they are. Sartre's study of the void is essentially consistent with the idea that accepting the emptiness inside of us is a required step on the way to spiritual awakening. We can rise above the limits of our ego, connect with the universal awareness, and start on a life-changing path to enlightenment when we face these challenges. When you stand on the edge of the void, you might feel scared, unsure, or even deeply alone. You should feel these things. They are normal. They are the guards of the barrier, pushing you to jump into the unknown. But when you accept the void, a magical thing happens. The fear turns into freedom, the doubt into understanding, and the loneliness into a deep, unbreakable link with all of existence. You understand that you are not falling into the void, you are rising from it and being born again. The way to spiritual awakening is beyond the void. It has 8 more tests, and each one has its own difficulties and benefits. But the void is the guardian, the first step that must be taken in order to change. Another test is getting past the ego. After coming out of the void with a better knowledge of and link to the huge web of existence, you now have to face the second test of spiritual awakening, going beyond your ego, which many people call ego death. As you can see, the ego is like a mask that we put on to get around in the world. It includes the things we think, believe, and feel about ourselves, which are often shaped by social standards and our own goals. The ego is useful in everyday life, but it can also keep us stuck in a loop of want, fear, and comparison that keeps us from being who we really are. Giving up your ego doesn't mean you lose who you are or become less of yourself. Realizing the ego's limits and going beyond them to reach a deeper, more connected state of being is what it's really about. That you are not the things that go through your mind or the parts you play in life. You are something much deeper. People often say that ego death is a very vulnerable time when all the parts of your identity are taken away, leaving you feeling open and unsure. Being in this situation can be scary because it makes you question everything you thought you knew about yourself and the world around you. But it's also a very freeing time, because as the ego goes away, so do the walls it builds between you and the rest of the world. You start to see yourself in other people and understand how everything is linked. There is no loss of self here. Instead, there is an opening up to the vastness of existence. Being able to go beyond your ego is a very important idea in Eastern thought. This spiritual trip is very similar to what people teach in many religions, like Buddhism and Taoism. In Buddhism, for example, the ego is often linked to pain. The Buddha himself stressed that the self is temporary, and that clinging to the ego is what makes people unhappy. To become enlightened, you have to get past your ego and see that the self is just a dream that changes all the time. In the same way, the ego is seen as a source of conflict and separation in Taoism. According to Taoist thought, people should go with the flow of the world, which means giving up their own wants and needs and being humble. Getting in tune with the Tao means letting go of your ego and becoming one with everything. Mindfulness and present are needed to get past the ego. You have to be able to watch your thoughts and feelings without getting attached to them and see them as temporary waves in the water of your being. Not ignoring or hiding your thoughts and feelings is not what this means. It just means recognizing them without letting them define you. Meditation, writing in a book, and spending time in nature can all help with this process. They can help you separate from your ego's stories and connect with a deeper sense of who you are. As you leave the safe grounds of your identity and sail into the unknown seas of spiritual awakening, you will need patience, kindness, and most of all, courage. When you get past your pride, you feel a freedom that is unlike any other. It's the freedom from always wanting more, from needing acceptance, and from being afraid of being judged. When you find your sense of purpose, it comes from inside you instead of being forced on you from the outside. You start to live in a state of flow, flowing with the rhythms of life. 3. The test of being afraid of dying. After traveling the vast nothingness of the void and rising above the limitations of the ego, you reach the third important turning point on your spiritual awakening path. You no longer fear death. Fear of death is one of the most common fears. It shapes a lot of our actions and responses, pushing us to look for safety, collect things, and reach goals as a way to leave our mark on the world, or resist the fact that we will soon be gone. The understanding that life and death are not enemies but rather two sides of the same coin, stages of a never-ending dance of creation and destruction, is at the core of spiritual awakening. Understanding that death is not the end but rather a shift, a change in form that is part of the very fabric of existence, is necessary to overcome one's fear of dying. This deep understanding is similar to the idea of the dance macabre, also known as the dance of death, which is an ancient metaphor that shows how death affects everyone. People from all walks of life, from the Pope to the farmer, dance together in the danse macabre, which leads to the grave. This strong picture serves as a warning that death treats everyone the same, no matter their rank, wealth, or power. The danse macabre tells us to live with the knowledge that death is inevitable, so we should enjoy every moment and live fully. Accepting death teaches us that we can get over our fears and live more honestly, making decisions that are more in line with who we really are instead of what other people expect of us, or the false idea that things will last forever. We can see the beauty in the circle of life and death, find joy in change, and develop a sense of peace with the natural flow of existence by accepting the lessons of the danse macabre as part of our spiritual growth. We can be truly free when we accept and understand things as they are. We can be free from fear, we can live in balance with nature, and we can enjoy the valuable short moments of our lives. We often can't really live because we're afraid of dying. It makes us anxious and avoidant, which stops us from taking chances, loving deeply, and accepting change. But when you don't fear death, you are no longer limited by these things. Without fear hanging over your days, you start to see life as a rare gift that you should enjoy to the fullest. Being aware of your own temporary existence makes you feel more connected to others and the world around you. You can feel empathy and care for others because you see yourself in them and share the same basic human situation. This can make people live their lives with more meaning, based on their values and a desire to help something bigger than themselves. It tells you to leave a good legacy, not to avoid death, but to show what kind of life you choose to live even though you know it's going to happen. A deep and life-changing realization that marks a major turning point on the path to spiritual awakening is the awareness that one no longer has to worry about dying. This is a step that gets you ready for the greater experiences and ideas that are coming. 4. The test of having a lot of sense. After passing the first 3 tests, you enter the 4th test of spiritual awakening, which is heightened perception. This is a strange but deeply freeing place to be. How you see and connect with the world around you changes a lot during this time. You may become more sensitive to your surroundings as you become more spiritually awake. Colors may seem brighter, sounds may be clearer, and textures may feel more complex. The senses aren't the only ones that are more sensitive. The mental and energy levels are too. The feelings and energies of the people around you hit you hard, and you often feel them as if they were your own. At first, this can be too much. The flood of sensory information and emotional forces can feel like a tsunami, leaving you feeling open and defenseless. But this awareness is a gift, a tool that can help you understand how everything is linked more deeply once you know how to use it. As you move forward on your spiritual path, your intuition, that quiet voice inside you, gets stronger and sharper. Insights and understandings that go beyond normal thought processes are given by it, making it a reliable guide. When your intuition is strong, it guides you toward decisions and behaviors that are in line with your better self and the greater good. A very important part of this time is learning to trust your gut. Following your gut can feel like a big step of faith in a world that puts a lot of value on logic and reason over inner knowing. This inner advice will help you trust yourself and the world more each time you listen to it and follow it. Alan Watts, a psychologist, said that people should have a lot of faith in their instincts and work on knowing how everything is linked. Watts, a British philosopher who was famous for explaining and promoting Eastern philosophy to people in the West, said that it was important to see how you and the outside world are connected. He thought that our feeling of being separate from the world around us was just an illusion, a social construct that made us misunderstand who we really are. Watts said that we could go beyond the limits of normal thinking if we recognized and accepted our natural link to the world. He said that perception, or what he might call the spontaneous understanding of the cosmos, is a very important part of this process. Watts says that intuition is a direct experience of the way things work in the universe and our normal state of being. Intuition is the only way to experience the world as a whole, beyond the binary idea that the viewer and the watched are separate. Being more sensitive and intuitive can also be hard at times. This could mean that you need to set tighter limits to keep your energy and health safe. It's possible to feel more acutely aware of the suffering and pain in the world, which can lead to feelings of empathy, overload or compassion, tiredness. Getting grounded and centering yourself through practices like meditation, spending time in nature, and being creative can help you handle your sensitivity and stay in touch with your instincts without getting too stressed. When you're very sensitive and have a lot of sense, you need to learn how to balance being open with taking care of yourself. It's about being grateful for your gifts and taking care of your health. 5. The test of being able to see God in everything. This deep awareness changes how we see the world, giving our everyday events a sense of reverence and connection that goes beyond the ordinary. In this 5th test, the task is not only to recognize this divine essence, but also to use what we've learned in our daily lives to change how we deal with the world and the people who live in it. In earlier times, the focus was on personal growth and inner changes, but now seeing the divine in everything leads to a wider awareness of the world around us. It's as if the glass through which we see the world has been switched out, showing a bright thread running through the fabric of existence and joining all living things and matter in a divine patchwork. This understanding comes from quiet times of thought, the beauty of nature, the arts, and seeing someone else's eyes. It means recognizing that everything, from the tiniest particle to the whole universe, is filled with a holy essence, or spark of the divine. In this situation, Christianity offers a special view that strengthens this sense of how everything is sacredly linked. Not only does it teach that the divine exists beyond the physical world, but it also teaches that the divine lives within and among us. This is most deeply shown in the idea of the Incarnation, which says that God became human in the person of Jesus Christ. The act connects the holy and the ordinary for all time, showing that the divine essence is present in everything. A life of respect grows when you see the divine in everything. Simple things and interactions turn into holy practices, times to remember how everything is linked. This doesn't need big actions. It just needs a change in perspective, a choice to see and value the holy presence in everyday things. This respect for our surroundings also encourages us to live in a way that is good for the earth and kind to all living things. It changes the way we relate to each other, making bonds stronger based on love and respect for each other. When we see the divine in others, we see it in ourselves too, which makes us feel more connected and compassionate. There are hard times on the way to seeing the divine in everything. In a world that is often divided and focused on material things, keeping this point of view takes constant dedication and awareness. When you are going through hard times, pain, or the everyday things of life, it can be hard to see the holy. Figuring this out also forces us to face our own fears, because seeing the divine in everything means seeing it in parts of ourselves and the world that we might rather ignore or reject. It's an invitation to see all of existence, with all of its light and dark sides, as symbols of God. As we move through this stage, we show others how to live in peace with the world and with each other. Our journey shows others that there is a more caring, thoughtful, and holy way to live, which encourages them to start their own spiritual awakening journey. 6th, the test of being alone. After realizing the divine spark in all of existence, we naturally move on to a phase that may seem strange at first: silence, on the path to spiritual awakening. People who have experienced solitude know that real connection and clarity often come from quiet times spent thinking about oneself. Our minds grow in solitude, a quiet place where the seeds of spiritual understanding can sprout and grow. We can hear the words of our deepest selves, connect deeply with our essence, and recharge our spiritual batteries when we're alone. This phase stresses how important it is to make a safe place inside and outside of ourselves, where the outside world's noise can be turned down and our inner voice can be heard more clearly. To walk the path of silence, you have to see times when you're by yourself as chances to grow deeply as a person. We face our darkest fears and inner monsters when we are alone, and that's when we find our real power and resolve. At this point in the trip, we are asked to enjoy being alone, to find peace and happiness within our hearts, and to enjoy the wealth of our inner world. This doesn't mean we give up on community or connections. Instead, it makes us more whole, present, and real when we return to them. Being alone teaches us that when we are at ease with our own presence, we can connect with others in a deeper and more satisfying way. Being alone helps us understand things better, which makes our spiritual journey richer. We learn to ease and guide ourselves because we know that the deepest solutions we're looking for are inside us. This time alone is very important for putting together what we've learned from previous tests, so that we can come out with a clearer sense of purpose. So, solitude is not a way to escape from life. It's a way to become more involved with it. We can interact with the world in a deeper and more important way when we practice silence. This is because deep self-reflection gives us peace and new ideas. Zen Buddhism is a society that has long believed that being alone is a way to reach spiritual peace. Zen doesn't just see silence as a state of mind, it's also a deep practice that helps people meditate and gain clarity. This way of thinking says that real understanding and wisdom come from experiencing reality directly, which is often done by sitting alone and thinking. In Zen Buddhism, zazen, or meditation, is seen as a way to clear the mind and look at oneself without getting attached to it. In Zen, being alone is necessary to reach satori, or sudden awareness, which is when a person directly feels the nature of their existence and the world. Being alone in this way takes discipline, patience, determination, and a strong desire to face oneself in its truest form. It is in silence that we get ready for the next stages of spiritual awakening. Every moment of silence is a step toward a better understanding of the world and ourselves. It is an important part of the journey that makes us wise, kind, and honest. In essence, solitude is an important step on the path to spiritual awakening and a strong testimony to the beauty of our inner worlds. Seventh, the test of moving on. We reach the seventh test on our path to spiritual awakening as we move forward. This part goes into the most basic truth of existence, which is that everything is always shifting and changing. It pushes us to let go of the false sense of security and control, and accept that reality is always changing. Everything in life is governed by the law of impermanence. Over time, the seasons change, relationships change, and our bodies change. Even though change is inevitable, we often fight it, holding on to what we know and are used to. This kind of resistance can cause us pain as we try to hold on to things that we can't. When we accept uncertainty, we see that change is not a threat, but a friend on our journey. In the same way that the river moves us forward, the wind blows our sails, and life renews and grows again. The only way to be free is to accept that everything changes. I accept that things change over time, which means I give up my need for fixed goals and standards. It means letting go of the ego, which usually tries to control and fight change. Instead, we learn to change with the times, to go with the flow of life, and to trust that each moment is a unique chance to grow and improve. This surrender doesn't mean being passive. It means being involved with life. In this case, it means making decisions and acting while still being open to the idea that things could change. It means being ready to dance with the unknown and see it as a friend instead of a threat. Accepting that things change gives us the knowledge to enjoy every moment to the fullest. We learn to enjoy each moment more when we know that it will end, no matter how good or bad it is. When we understand that things like a sunset, the happiness of a loved one, and the lessons we learn from hard times are only temporary, we value them more. Eighth, the test of not judging others while you live. In the eighth step of our spiritual rising journey, we face a tough test that will change us. We have to live without judging others. The ability to judge is a deeply rooted part of being human. We learn to sort and judge the world around us from a very young age. Our experiences and cultural upbringing shape our opinions and views. There are times when judging is useful in everyday life, but it can also cause pain, suffering, and division. To live without judgment, you have to completely change how you see things. This means looking at the world and the people who live in it with kindness and understanding instead of criticism and judgment. It means letting go of the need to label things as good or bad, right or wrong, and instead accepting how complicated and full life is. At this point in the journey, we are being asked to develop a heart that loves and accepts everyone, no matter what. It takes us to see that every person has worth and respect, no matter what they do or believe. It's about showing kindness to everyone, not just those we agree with or understand, even those who make us feel bad. To live without judgment is not to accept bad behavior or ignore wrongdoing. Instead, it means reacting with understanding and empathy instead of anger and shame. It means realizing that every action has a past, a story, and a set of events that make it possible for that person to act the way they do. To get to the greater truths that bind us all, we have to look past the surface. During this part of the trip, you also let go of your criticism and self-judgment. We often hold ourselves to impossible standards and berate ourselves for what we think are our flaws and mistakes. Being able to live without judging others means showing ourselves the same kindness and understanding that we show to others. This is about accepting ourselves as human, flaws and all, and knowing that we deserve love and respect just the way we are. Living without judging others is a strong practice that helps people heal, get along, and stick together. We can build stronger relationships with ourselves and others by bridging the gaps that separate us. It's an important step on the way to spiritual awakening and a testament to the transforming power of love and kindness. 9. The test of giving up. As we get closer to the end of our spiritual rising journey, we face the last test, the test of surrender. Allowing ourselves to let go of the false sense of control and go with the flow of life is the highest form of trust and faith. We are asked to let go of our ties, wants, and hopes during this time and trust the universe's knowledge. Giving up the need to know or understand everything and believing that we are kept and helped by a higher mind is part of it. Giving up or leaving ourselves to fate is not what it means to surrender. Instead, it means getting in tune with the natural flow of life. Giving up control and being open to whatever comes up in the present moment is what it's about. It means giving up control and letting life happen as it will. For this last test, we have to give up not only the good things in life, but also the hard things that come with it. It means accepting the whole range of human emotions and knowing that every moment, happy or sad, has the power to bring about growth and change. Giving up is also a humble act that helps us see our own limits and the vastness of the universe. It means giving up our ego's need to be in charge and giving ourselves over to a power bigger than ourselves. It's about realizing that even though we are minuscule flecks in the vast fabric of existence, we are still inextricably linked to it. We are free when we give up. We are set free from the worries of the past and the duties of the present. We are freed from the need to always want to do better. It gives us freedom to just be, to rest in the knowledge that the world has our backs. Surrendering means letting go and believing that the world knows what's best for you every day. You need to be brave, have hope, and be ready to face the unknown on this trip. But when we give up more control over our lives and let them flow through us, we are carried along by the currents of grace and led by the gentle hand of divine guidance. In conclusion, the path of spiritual awakening is a deep and life-changing process that forces us to face the deepest parts of ourselves and open to the real nature of reality. It's a journey to learn about yourself, get better, and be free. We are asked to go beyond the limits of the ego and accept the whole of our humanity on this trip. The 9 tests of spiritual awakening are like landmarks on this path, showing us ways to grow, gain understanding, and change deeply. Every test forces us to face a different part of ourselves and the world around us, pushing us to become more aware and understand reality more deeply. We are asked to develop traits like bravery, kindness, and humility as we go through these tests. We are asked to let go of things that don't help us anymore and accept things that do. We are being asked to awaken to the beauty and wonder of existence and to live with respect and thanks for the gift of life itself. Spiritual awakening isn't always easy, but it's always worth the work. It is a path that leads to more love, freedom, and happiness. It is a trip that brings us back to ourselves, to the truth of who we are, and to the center of our being. May we all have the strength to start this awakening path and to face the tests that lie ahead with an open heart and a willing spirit. May we fully accept what it means to be human and open to the divine essence that lives in and around us. And may we always be amazed and thankful for what we have, knowing that the world holds and loves us.